We're going to rank the Silksong bosses. Let's get into it. Things to think about: were the bosses fun? Did they keep you on your toes? Did they require you to like really think as you fought the bosses? Let's do it. I'm going to start with the hot take here. I was really looking forward to the Shocker fight once I learned you could fight her, but then after fighting her, I was actually super disappointed, and it was probably one of my least favorite fights. So I'm going to put her bottom C tier. While we're talking about the bottom, Kragler, all you do is hide under cover and jump up and hit him. Very boring fight. All right, let's mix it up. We're going to do Phantom here. I really liked having to play around his counter, and he was basically Tom Brady with the nails. I think that's an easy A tier. Shrine Guardian Seth feels intimidating, but he's actually pretty easy to read, but still a fun back and forth fight because he can mix you up a little bit. Let's go put him B tier. Next up, let's do Gur the Outcast. I like the theme behind him being a hunter, but really he was just putting traps everywhere, trying to overwhelm you with traps. As long as you hit him and you watch out for his attack where he goes like across the ground, it's a very easy fight. I'll put him above Shocker though, because he was different. Wolverine was okay. You just kind of hit in the ceiling. It was a very pretty fight, a lot of pink flashing and all that, and that part was nice, but the boss itself was kind of eh. Great Conchflies is okay. It's one of those fights where it's like, because there's two things on the screen, it kind of trips you up a little bit. I still think that's better than Gur and Chakra, but it's not the best. Raging Conchfly was a beast. He was all over the screen, putting pressure on me nonstop. I think that's an easy A. Not quite as fun as Phantom or aesthetically pleasing, but he was a fun fight. Father Flame, they tried something new. I liked the way the fight looked, but I mean, it was very straightforward, but still better than the Kragler. Trovio was a really chaotic and fun fight. You had to really pay attention to the screen. You couldn't just run in and hit him the way you wanted to. You kind of had to follow his lead. Unironically, I think that's an easy A tier. I'm going to put him over Phantom. While we're talking about Trovio, let's do Tormented. I feel like they took everything in that fight and they just made it better. I think easy S tier. The Cogwork Dancers felt like the Conchflies to me, except that they're a little bit easier to hit compared to the Conchflies. And they just didn't exert any real pressure to me. I'm going to put them behind the Great Conchflies. While we're talking about dancers, let's do Clover. I feel like they had some new moves. You couldn't hurt one of them either, so that added some difficulty to the fight. I'm going to put that above Great Conchfly. Those three all kind of felt, man, get in there, similar. Sister Splinter felt cool at first, but once you break the branches and you fight the ads, you realize it's a very simple boss. I'm actually going to put her behind Volverm. Next up, we got Lace, and I think she's got a special place in our hearts because she's talking trash to Hornet. You know, you're not better than me. She's got the counter, and the fight is aesthetically pleasing where you're diving and jumping around all over the place as you chase each other down. I don't think she's as hard as Phantom or Raging Conchfly, but I think that she's still a pretty fun boss. I'm going to put her up in A tier. Next up, we got Broodmother. Reminds me of Kruz Mother, I think, from Hollow Knight. Just kind of a punching bag, really. Still better than Kragler, D tier. Last Judge was pretty fun. I liked how it was mixing up between fire and non-fire moves. You had the hammer throw that you can have to dodge for, because sometimes it's a throw, sometimes it's a slam, and then the big AoE that covered the screen. I think this is a good A tier. I had just as much fun with Last Judge as I did Lace, so I think they go right next to each other fine. Nihilif is unique because she was like the only vertical boss in the game, and she was throwing projectiles at you while you're trying to dodge them and stay vertical. I think that's an easy B tier. Moss Mother, let's do D tier above Broodmother. Not that much more challenging, but you could tell the game was being a little bit more serious right out the gate. Gruul the Great is such an asshole that it actually made me enjoy the fight more. I mean, the water's filthy, so if you touch it, you can't really heal unless you build up a lot of damage, which he's not going to let you do because he keeps moving away from you. He summons ads, which I don't like, and you have to fight a wave of ads to get to him. His moves, his dive is really nasty, and he collides with you on purpose so that you can't pogo. He was a really challenging fight, and I think because he was like such an ass that I ended up enjoying it, and it felt so rewarding to beat him. So I think he's going to go S tier. I'm going to put him behind Trovio because he did have to use ads where Trovio was all him. He's the star of the show. Watcher at the Edge was relentless and had a lot of HP. He was like one of the few bosses where I had to break out like the true build of Architects, Poison, and Slingshot and spam him from a distance because I just didn't want to deal with him. I think he's easy B tier. Cygnus and Gron kind of suffer from the same thing the Dancers and the Conchflies do, where like they kind of have to be in a pair to be good, and even then they're still weak. And if you don't have the magma thing on, it really messes you up. So I think that is the advantage that'll put them high C tier over the other Dancers. Savage Beastfly was fairly predictable, and the summon ads. I will say that the timing on his turning and going up and down was a little tricky. I think I'll put him low B tier. Unraveled was an okay boss fight. It felt like you spent a lot of time just waiting to fight the boss. I wasn't a big fan of it. I'm going to put him low D tier. This might be a hot take, but I'm going to put Skull Tyrant high C tier above everybody. Widow was pretty fun, had a lot of full screen coverage, and like the dash attack was kind of annoying to deal with. I think I'm going to put Widow high B tier. All right, Disgraced Chef was throwing that ass. Gotta put you at least You know what? That ass is at least low B tier. Fourth course was okay. A little bit of platforming with the swipes coming down and across the screen. It was okay. I think it was better than Skull Tyrant, but not impressive. Another BB tier. So C tier it is. I did not get a chance to fight Garmin and Zaza. I didn't know how to trigger that boss fight to the right, and someone told me it was them. I only got to fight the later version of them. Lost Garmin was nasty when I was fighting with Architect because you really need to be able to pogo and stay on top of the boss. Whereas if you're fighting him from the left to the right, he just spams you down with projectiles and it's frustrating. I think at least above all the dual bosses, but like under Skull Tyrant. Second Sentinel was a good boss fight. He felt a lot like Phantom and Lace, but maybe just a little bit later in the game. His X move, which if you don't space yourself correctly, can get caught quite a bit, and he can kind of switch up his combinations, and then he's got like the little spinneroo uppercut move he does. I think I'm going to put him high A tier, put him above Phantom, but below Trobio. I did not fight Zongo. I didn't know that you can go back and fight him, so I'm going to put him here, but I watched the fight, and it seems like all you do is just run up and hit him, and you just kind of dodge the raining projectiles. Honestly, it looks very boring. If I had to choose, I'd probably put him somewhere down here in D tier. Maybe above Father Flame, but for now I'm just going to put him down here because technically I didn't fight him. Bell Eater was pretty nasty because like if you wanted to attack either the head or the tail, they would have to spit out projectiles and you had to be right underneath them as you go for your hits, and then they could attack from two different sides. Of course, it made them more vulnerable, but it was still a pretty crazy, chaotic fight. I think I had more fun with that than like everything else in B tier minus Nihilith. So I think this is a good spot. High B tier. If we talk about the Eater, we got to talk about the Beast. And I think that fight was still fun, fairly chaotic, coming up from the ground, shooting the bells or whatever, and kind of dashing across the screen. Very, very simple though, but I had fun with it. I would say probably down here with Skull Tyrant. I think this is a good spot. Crawfather was actually pretty disappointing for like a late game fight. I mean, he slams on the ground like 3 times and he calls in ads. He looks cool, but other than that, he's actually pretty lame. I mean, even Sister Splinter put up a bigger challenge. Low C tier. I think Morrowind is actually pretty good. If you try to spam him, he had that close range attack where he would hit you almost immediately. And if you try to move away from him, he would shoot the thing across the ground. And then later he'd shoot the rings that would come back while he's also fighting you. Kind of making him a little bit tricky. Not super challenging though, because how early he was in the game. But I think I would put him in terms of fun. Let's go low B tier. Low B tier, because these two were just more fun to fight. There was definitely more pressure from them than there was from him, but I think he did good for low B tier. Pale Stag looked cool, but the fight itself was pretty boring. It was just kind of dodging the disc and then doing the claw line and getting close. I mean, I feel like it was really boring that I'm going to have to put that behind even Crawfather and Sister Splinter. Low C tier. First Sinner was actually a really good fight. Having the needles attack from above and from the sides and Sinner teleporting around and attacking from left to right and healing. I think I'm going to put First Sinner above Trobio for that healing factor because you had to go in, and if you didn't, then you get caught, as well as the AoEs happening across the screen. I think high A tier for First Sinner is a good spot. Pinterest was an insane fight. Pinterest does everything that Sentinel, Phantom, and Lace does, but also has screen control similar to that of like Trobio, but not quite as oppressive. I think because she's a mix of all of these other A tiers minus like the Raging Conchfly, I think Pinterest goes high A tier. Highest A tier probably at this point. Carmelita's gotta be like the best fight in the game. It's like 4 phases. She's got a variety of moves. You have to go through a gauntlet. The aesthetic to how she looks as well as the environment you fight her looks good. She gets insanely difficult in phase 4 where she's like pinpoint accurate, specifically that move where she turns into a ball and she can start hitting you out the air, because like the other few phases she doesn't really do that, but phase 4 she locks in and starts putting pressure on you, and it's just like it is a tough fight but very, very fun. Very aesthetically pleasing. I feel like this is like one of the few fights where you can actually wall bounce, which you can do a couple, right? Or you're bouncing off the bones coming out the ground, but she just had the full kit. I think it was an amazing fight. I think that's easy S tier. Lost Lace was an interesting fight to me because it was tough because the AI was really good at spacing out its attacks, but I wasn't a fan of all the black that was on the screen. Like it was hard to see what she was doing, and I get that's the point, but it felt borderline unfair that like you literally couldn't see that she was attacking or what she was doing because there's an object in the way. So there's like a little bit of RNG to it. And then on top of that, like it just didn't have the rhythm that a lot of other fights in the game have. It didn't feel like it had soul, and maybe that's the point. But you know, it was good though. It was good. I think I would put it up here in front of Second Sentinel because it was simply raw difficulty was hard. But it definitely felt like the fight was lacking identity, which again, I don't know if that's intentional or not. Khan was a really cool fight. I loved his lore, and I loved the coral bending he was doing, sending coral all over the screen while trying to trap you in place so that he could hit you if he couldn't hit you with the coral. I would say his style was more full screen control because you could be standing right next to him and he wouldn't hit you. I think I'll put him behind First Center because he does everything First Center does, but First Center is not afraid to get in there and get their hands dirty. I think Khan is high A tier for sure. Very visually appealing fight, very fun. Grandmother Silk is a confusing one to me because she has the full screen attacks like Trobio and Khan, but there's like no flash or appeal to it, and a lot of it reminds me of Radiance, which has already been done. So it's like difficulty, I mean, it's not exactly up there. I'm thinking she's like a stronger Widow in that regard. So I think I'm going to put her high B tier if it will let me. There we go.